right? We can put a very thin layer, 40 millimeters. We can put a thicker layer for 100 millimeters, but it's going to be working as wearing surface. If it's a 150 millimeters layer, it's a wearing surface that can also contribute to support the loads, but at the end, it's a wearing surface. So, could be or the asphalt that we just talked about, or the spray seals. So, what is a spray seal? Or no, or first, let's talk why we use, but you already know, why we need to have a wearing surface or a road surfacing. But I have talked about that before. Why we have this layer on top? Because we want that road to be smooth, because we want that road to be able to do marking, because we want to reduce the noise of the road. So there are many reasons of why we need to have a wearing surface. Because if we don't put that smooth layer on top and we just, if our pavement composition is a granular material, imagine driving on top of that.
Yeah.
It's not that nice, right? So it's going to resist, it's going to be strong, but you don't feel like comfortable. So we want all of that to be accomplished by our wearing surface. There are different characteristics of a wearing surface. For example, one important one is the texture, so how much texture it has. The more seal or the smaller the size of the aggregate, the less texture we have. So usually the fine gap graded asphalt has less texture than a spray seal that has a 10 millimeters or larger aggregate, right? And these are all the possible wearing surfaces that we could have. This will be the smoother, with the smoother texture. This will be the one with in which you feel more texture. Actually, you don't feel it that much, but yeah, you can see it. The other characteristic of surface is the noise. So the more smooth, the less noise. The less smooth, the more noise. So again, like open graded asphalt that has a lot of fines is going to have less noise than a spray seal that has aggregates of 10 or 14 millimeters big, right? So spray seals are going to be more noisy than open graded asphalts. And then we are going to have the water spray. That is something else, that is something that we also can control, or is a characteristic of the wearing surfaces. So open graded asphalt, we have low spray needs or water spray, and dense graded asphalt, we have way more spray than the open graded asphalt. So depending on the needs, that's why we have different types of asphalt. We can use it for the specific conditions that we have. In average, this is the expected service life of the different wearing surfaces that we have. Spray seals with very small size of aggregate will have between 5 and 7 years. Spray seals with an aggregate bigger than 10 will have between 8 and 15. A double application seal, so a seal on top of another seal, will last kind of the same. A dense graded asphalt is going to last 20 years. A concrete is going to last 40 years, right? We are not going to be designing concrete. This one is going to last 20 years, and this pavement composition is kind of expensive. This one is going to last 15 years, and that pavement composition is kind of cheap. So that's why here we use mostly the spray seals. Most of the roads that we have out there, rural, not urban, because urban is different, but rural roads, most of them are spray seals. Are very strong granular pavement composition with a spray seal on top, right? So, what is a spray seal? I think I mentioned it before. Yeah, it's a bitumen that you spray, and on top of that bitumen you put an aggregate to seal your pavement. So you have all. No, you don't go that way. Centenary Highway, do you go that way? No. Sunshine Coast, when they were doing the construction of the Sunshine, that was a full depth asphalt, but you were able to see the base material. That was a granular material. And that granular material, in rural roads, you just seal it. You just put a bitumen on top and a granular an aggregate in, and that's it. And that pavement will work perfectly for 15 years. It's really good and it's really cheap and it's really easy to design. That's why here they use it a lot. They don't get their lives complicated. So we use what makes different spray seal. So usually is a bitumen and an aggregate on top. But you can make a double seal, double, single, like one bitumen aggregate, or again bitumen, again aggregate is a double. Like bitumen, aggregate bitumen is a scatter. There is another, and then you have double, single. So you have 1,000 of combinations that you can do. But what do you combine? You combine the granular material, that it could be a sand, 5 to 7 millimeters aggregate, a 10 to 14 millimeters aggregate, or a 16 to 20 millimeters aggregate. So usually for wearing surfaces we use 14, 10, 5 and 7 is too small, and then it's not going to last what we want. 16 and 20 is good if we are going to combine it with a smaller one, because we want it to be sealed, right? So we can use a 16 or 20, but we usually, when we use 16 and 20, we put a double layer of aggregate. One with 16 and another one with 10, or another one with 5. So we make sure that it's really sealed. Then we aggregate, then we need to understand that bitumen that we are going to use is going to be, remember that we said that it can't be with that big viscosity, it has to be less viscosity. So a C170 is a really common bitumen that we use when we are doing spray seals. There is another thing that is called bitumen emulsions. Bitumen emulsions is the bitumen mixed with water. So it has less viscosity. Can we use it for spray seals? No. Can we use it for asphalts? No. When do we use it? When we are doing priming, when we do primers. So every time that we make our granular layer, on top of that granular layer, we have our spray seal. And our spray seal is a layer of bitumen and a layer of aggregate. But if we put the layer of bitumen straight away on our granular material, that granular material will absorb that bitumen. And when we put that gravels or aggregates on top of that spray seal, it will not stick as we want. Because part of that material will be like absorbed by that granular material that we have on bottom, so we are not going to have the performance that we want. So what we do is that we put an emulsion that is a bituminous emulsion. We put it before we put our bitumen, right? So that granular material, we put that emulsion on top, and that emulsion will be absorbed, and then that emulsion is going to be ready to receive that bitumen that we are going to have on top, and will be sticking perfectly, and the amount of bitumen that I need to stick my gravels on top will be perfect, and that pavement will work perfect as we want, right? So we do need bitumen emulsions, because every time that we have a different material, gravels, and then on top of my bitumen, I need to stick them. I need to improve that relationship. So I'm going to use an emulsion. And some emulsions are based on water. Some emulsions are based on kerosene, that is like petroleum derivative. So if it's based on kerosene, we are going to call it cut back bitumen. And if it's made with water, we are going to call it emulsion. So we can have a bitumen emulsion, or we can have a cut back bitumen. Both can be used as a primer, but they cannot be used as a spray seal, right? Easy peasy. Okay. Again, we are using polymer modified binders, so instead of just emulsions, we are using polymer modified binders because we realize that they are better. So, and they are going to give more, they will last better, they will have less cracks because we put some additives to them. They are a little bit more expensive, but that's the common use now, like using the polymer modified binders. Based on the number of applications of the binder and the aggregate, we are going to have different types of spray seals. So we can have the single seal, that is application of binder and aggregate. We could have the double, that is a layer of binder, aggregate, but usually the first aggregate has a big nominal size and the other aggregate has a smaller nominal size. We can have the single double, that is going to be a single layer of bitumen and double layer of aggregate. That is different from the scatter because one is done with a normal rate and the other one is done spreaded very slowly. There is another combination that is the dry matting, that is like the opposite sandwich, so it will be aggregate, binder, aggregate. And there is the inverted seal, that is a double, but in the other way. So aggregate, binder. So there are different ways to use them, different ways to combine them, depending on the needs that we have. In addition, we can put some other reinforcer or other reinforcements to make it better. We can add chrome rubber, like rubber, the rubber's elastic bands, like little pieces of that. Not exactly that, but it looks like that. We can add glass fiber. Have you seen glass fiber as well? That is itchy, the one that is. We can add glass fiber because that will increase the strength of the material, or we can add geotextiles. Like, have you seen geotextiles as well? No? It's like a cloth, like a fabric. And because it's a fabric, it will like make it, like when you have a cloth and you stick a paper behind, and it makes it better, more resistant, same behavior. So if you have that bitumen and you stick it to a fabric, it will behave better. It will transfer all the loads equally. So all of those things can be used to make in the spray seal. There is another type of spray of wearing surface that exists here in Australia, but it's just used when we are doing rehabilitations. That is the slurry surfacing. The slurry surfacing is done. It's like the spray seal, but we don't use polymer modified binders. We just use bitumen. And the standard says that we cannot use it for new constructions. So it's just for rehabilitations. So when we have a pavement and we have to make the rehabilitation of that piece, we can do the bituminous slurry surfacing, but it cannot be used for new constructions. And finally, the asphalts. As we were using the asphalts as base, we can use the asphalts as wearing surfaces as well. So the only difference is that usually the asphalt that we use in the wearing surface has a smaller size in the aggregate. So we are not going to be using an AC24, we are going to be using an AC10, for example, right? So here, can you see? So 14 wearing surface, wearing courses, 20 base and intermediate courses. So an asphalt that has an AC 20, 28, or 40 is too big to be used as a wearing surface. An asphalt that has 5, 7, 10, or 14 can be used as a wearing course. This one is pedestrian areas and fine surfacing. So all of those little size aggregates are the ones that we use as wearing surfaces. This table here is also telling us what is the common thickness that we usually use when we have those aggregates. If the nominal size is 14, we cannot make layers of 15 because then the rock will not accommodate there. So The typical thickness of the layers, depending on the size of the aggregate, goes around these numbers, right? Here is a description of each of the asphalts that we just saw. So the open graded asphalt, we usually use granular size between 10 and 14. It contains from 18 to 25% of air voids. So it's really good for reducing the water spray, but it will increase the volume of water that get inside my pavement composition. So I need to understand that to be able to think about how I'm going to drain that water. And one of the options is to leave a free draining edge. So we thought that, right, that the water can get inside and then we need to do a pavement drain or something to catch the water to take it out. The stone mastic is the strongest one. It always has something that is the cellulose fiber that is an additive that we add to make it very, very strong. The fine gap graded asphalt is, we use this one when we are doing thin asphalt surfacing because it's so smooth that it's very useful to leave our road very sealed. So that one is very useful when we want to make the wearing surfaces. And that's all about wearing surfaces. Let's have a break and then we do the example.